So, John, this is tonight sort of stemmed from a suggestion John have made about originally sort of explaining what Echolink is, because it's something probably a lot of people hear about and don't really know what it is. Echolink, I don't know much about the history of, but what it is, it's a computer network client. You have to be licensed to be able to register to use it. So what it then allows you to do, you can either then talk peer-to-peer over the internet to another licensed ham, which is just basically like network radio, but it was a long time before this thing called network radio was coined. Hams have been doing it a long time with Echolink and All Star, so it's nothing actually new. But what it also allows you to do is, if you've got an RF repeater that's connected to the internet, it can also connect to Echolink. So what that actually allows you to do is be able to connect into an RF repeater using an Echolink client, and now you can get the client for a PC, for Mac, for Linux, for Android, for your iPhone and your iPad. I mean, when I first activated my license, or reactivated my license, I didn't have any radios. The first thing I did was use I discovered Echolink, and the old GB3CV had Echolink on it as well. So I used to just use my PC and jump onto GB3CV and actually be able to get on the air without actually having a radio in the house, which was quite useful to start off with, as you can probably imagine. It gave me, at least a start, because the idea was get my license back and then decide what I was going to do with it. Because Andy G7KXM had told, who my brother-in-law, this is when I found out that the license was now free, and I also got a full license. So it was a case of, well, I might as well reactivate my license if nothing else. So that's actually how I got back on the air, was using Echolink. So it's got its uses. So that's the first thing. On my PC, I'm going to show you around the Echolink client on the PC. So just going to stop my video, because my iPad sits on top of my laptop. You can still hear me. If I go to this Zoom meeting, share screen. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. So here is my Echolink client. It's already logged in, and on the PC, I prefer this Explorer view because it separates your nodes into because there are different categories of Echolink nodes. There are just normal users. And you can scroll down there and you can see what users are online. There's some G7s and some G6s, etc. Now, if I wanted to, I could just double click on that and then give a call to that user, and he could answer me, and it said the call would be purely over the internet. You've then got repeaters. And this shows you all the repeaters around the world that have got Echolink on them. Don't worry, once you've sort of found the stuff that you like, there is a favourites list, because I've only just installed this on this PC. I haven't populated anything yet. So in here, I could scroll down. I'm sure there is a search function. There is definitely on the iPad version. But I could go down the GB3. And up here I would be able to see. Should be able to see. There we go. GB3CV repeater. So that's GB3CV. That's the repeater at Craig's house. And you'll also see on there, if I scroll down, you will also see there's WK and MW. So all our closest repeaters have Echolink on them, are Echolink enabled. And quite often you will find that's how MW and CV are bridged. Basically, one Echolinks into the other. And once your Echolinks into the repeater, of course, everybody on the repeater can hear you. So that's what I said, quite often you'll find MW and CV are linked. So you actually come out on both repeaters. And that's because someone will have connected MW to CV using Echolink. But I will cover how you do it with the repeater in a minute. And the other thing we have is links. Now these are mainly, the biggest examples of these are HubNet would be a link. And if I go down here, somewhere there I would see HubNet. But what you'll also see in here, which is relevant to the club, is a link called G1IUL link. There it is there, CoArsNet. At the moment you'll see there's one person on, it says 1 out of 20, and that's our digital bridge connected to it. So that there is the actual center of the all mode net, as I call it, or one of the center points is that G1IUL link, because that G1IUL link is the bit that then goes into the rest of the system to allow it to go out on Fusion, allows it to go out on DMR, and of course, obviously, ultimately allows it to go out on analog through GB3CV as well. So I could connect to that, and if I connect to that, you will see, now this bit becomes a bit more crucial. I have what's called a node number, which I have connected to G1IUL-L, and its node number is 464085. And you can see also it tells me systems linked 9863. Now I happen to know off the top of my head 9863 happens to be GB3CV. So GB3CV is linked to this link, and now I am linked to this link. So now if I wanted to, on a repeater, say for some reason it wasn't linked and I only had access to an RF repeater, what I can actually do, if I've got a radio that's got DTMF tones, is that I can link the GB3CV, and what I could do would be dial that number 464085 followed by a hash, and that would then actually get the repeater to connect to this node. So that's what you can also do with the repeater. So if I actually wanted to use a repeater and connect to a particular user, so if I wanted to, the only problem is finding the node numbers. Now there is a web page here that lists every node that's registered on that's connected to Echolink. This is just showing the online ones, and what it shows is each one's node number. So if I wanted to connect to what was that? Repeaters. So for example, I wanted to connect to this repeater in Kajong City. I could actually go onto GB3CV, type in that number there, 404321 hash, and always follow it by a hash. And I would actually then connect GB3CV to this repeater in Echolink City. So you can use this to link any repeaters across the world together, or you could conference the user. If you have the user's node ID number, you could dial their number and you could conference them in onto the repeater. So Echolink is quite flexible in that respect as a link between your PC, iPhone world and the RF world. It's quite a useful little program. So I'd been using Echolink for a while, and then of course along came DMR, which was something else I decided to learn about. So at the time I set up the Cars Talk group. Everything was dandy. Everybody with DMR could talk to everybody else on DMR, but that was it. And then I looked at HubNet and thought, well, HubNet is bridging things together. Maybe I could do something similar for the club. So it got me thinking. I did a lot of research, and I actually found out how HubNet was built, and I actually got in touch with one of the guys that built HubNet, G1IUL, and he gave me a lot more information how HubNet was built. So I decided I'd then adapt something similar for the club. So what we've actually ended up with, we still don't have D-Star because that needs some extra hardware and stuff, and I'm not going to look at that now until I've moved house. But what we do have bridged now, the ultimate, what we've ended up with is we've got that G1IUL Echolink node is linked to the Cars Talk group 2345974. It is also linked to the Yaesu Fusion room, GB space COVARS, and it is also ready for when we connect to D-Star. It is also linked to a D-Star reflector called XLX070 on module A. Don't know a lot about what that means because I don't know a lot about D-Star yet, but what I gather is each reflector can have up to 26 modules running on it at the same time. So module A will eventually link D-Star into the rest of our network. So we will then have D-Star connected. When I get this extra hardware, I may also be able to connect Peanut in to our system, which is another type of Echolink that a lot of people are using on Android. So I'm hoping to be able to link that in at some point there. So D-Star and Peanut are future things. Now, what I'm going to basically explain now is, now I've got to it, is how the digital link is laid out. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this web page, and you can all go to this, and I will actually put a link to this in the chat before we finish. We can go to this, actually monitoring the link because it runs on the actual bridges itself, which run on some software called HB-Link, which is Homebrew Link, which is some software that basically can either it acts in 3 modes at the same time. So you have, it'll act as a DMR master server. It will also act as a DMR hotspot or repeater to log into other DMR networks. And it also supports what's called OpenBridge, which is another way of connecting, directly connecting into a DMR network. So, and as you can see here, we have things connected to it, to its master, HB-Link's master, which is COVARSnet. And this is the bit of it that's acting as a DMR master server. We have GB COVARS, which is the YSF fusion reflector, and we have what you see there is All-Star, and All-Star is the software I'm using to connect Echolink, because All-Star also supports Echolink. So basically, they are connecting into this HB link as a server, as a DMR master. I'm going to draw this all out on a whiteboard, so hopefully you'll visualize it more in a minute. We've then got what we call here the peer systems. Now, these are systems that I'm connecting to as a client. So we have Brandmeister Island. That gives us connectivity into the Brandmeister network. Now, that used to be done with a bridge until the big Brandmeister blow up, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And you'll also see here is XLX 070A. Now, the XLX software, the XLX reflector software supports connecting to it via D-Star, DMR, or Fusion. So what we do is we connect to that, and it acts as a DMR master. So we're, again, in client mode, we're going to connect to that reflector as a peer. And then we have down here open bridge systems. Now, this used to be the DMR link. This is now a bridge into FreeDMR. And eventually, I've got the request in, eventually the Brandmeister Island will become a full bridge as well. But that's just a back-end change. Doesn't really affect our functionality in any way, shape or form. So I'm just going to stop sharing a minute so I can then go on to the whiteboard. Right. So, as I said, in the middle, I'm not going to get too complicated about software, but in the middle we have HB link. So that sort of sits in the complete middle of our network, but that only actually talks DMR protocol to anything. It will only actually talk DMR. So what we do, we then have over on this side, we have, don't want to draw a square, I want to draw a circle or an ellipse. We have GB Cov Rs, which is YSF. So that's the system fusion bit. Now, we are quite fortunate that the underlying audio protocols that DMR and Fusion use is identical. It's what's called AMBER 2, and they are identical. So all we have to actually do to connect into Fusion is change the packets around the audio, because with any computer thing you have control packets and then you have the lump of data. So all we do is we change the control packets from Fusion packets to DMR packets. And there's a third piece of software that sits in there called YSF to DMR. And that happily will convert Yaesu Fusion to DMR. So, and just logs into our HB link as if it was a hotspot. So our HB link thinks that's just a hotspot talking DMR now. So that's the first thing. So if I just put some lines in there. So that basically goes like that. And I said that, and then we've now got YSF working. We then have this software called All-Star, which is what gives us we'll stick that over here. And we'll call it Echolink just because that's all it's providing. So that gives us a link to Echolink. But at the moment, Echolink is just an audio stream. It's not encoded as anything, and so as it is at the moment, HB Link can only talk DMR. So we've got to again do some conversions. Now, lucky Amber 2 can be performed in software. The coding. Amber 1, which is what D-Star runs on, can't. Hence why I need the extra hardware to include D-Star. The actual connection to D-Star is there, it's just the audio doesn't work because I haven't got an Amber 1 decoder. So luckily there's some open source software around that has various little modules. So it'll have analog to digital and then digital to DMR. So what we do is we feed the audio stream, and I'm just going to keep it simple and call that DV switch because that's the suite of software. And that is just called, stands for digital voice switch. So it's for switching digital voice protocols around. So we run this software called DV switch. Which, minimize that, also stems off to another little bit of software here. It's called MD380MU. And it basically emulates the hardware of an MD380 radio, which gives us an Amber 2 decoder. So what actually happens with this, the flow actually goes Echolink into DV switch, which then directly connects into HB Link again as a hotspot, but it also then sends the audio stream to MD380MU, which then sends it back as Amber 2 audio stream. So again, then at that point, DV switch can just put DMR packets around it. HB Link thinks it's a DMR hotspot. Away it goes, and then HB Link just connects the two together on the same talk group. We then have don't want a line. We want a circle again. We then have Brandmeister. Now, the official way and supported way to connect to Brandmeister is to use an open bridge. And we did have in place an open bridge with Brandmeister UK before the big blow up. So what I ended up doing was putting in this very dirty hat, which we connect out. So we connect to Brandmeister and say, hi Brandmeister, we're a repeater. So, and then on the Brandmeister network, I set the cars talk group 2345974 as a static to this as a repeater. So any traffic on that talk group always gets sent into HB Link. And now, because obviously that's connected, anything that's coming in through this link or this link also goes in and out that link. So at this point, we have now bridged Brandmeister with Fusion and Echolink. And Echolink then obviously goes off to give us analog repeat connectivity. Now, We've also then got another link, which is free DMR UK, which is a brand new network being run by the guys that used to run the old UK Master, UK Brandmeister Master. So, and we have a fully bridged connection to them. So, and again, it's the same talk group number 234 5974. Anything from any traffic from free DMR UK on that talk group gets sent into the HB Link software, which then will obviously send it out to Brandmeister, to Fusion, and to Echolink. And then, although I've not drawn it in, obviously we have the other circle here. XLX, which is what will give us the D-star functionality. So we actually have another link like that. So basically, so any traffic that's coming from any of these links, whether it's coming from YSF, whether it's coming from Brandmeister, whether it's coming from DMR UK, XLX, or Echolink, they will get bridged together. Hence why that's how we've got the functionality that anyone still on Brandmeister and anyone on free DMR UK can happily talk away to each other on DMR on the cars talk group because they're bridged through this link here. Same way with Fusion, someone on Fusion can wrap it to someone on Brandmeister or free DMR or Echolink. So that's, and this system, I've been asked a few times, this system is in place 24 hours a day. There's a script that runs and every 5 minutes that checks whether Echolink is connected to GB3CV, and if it isn't, it will automatically connect it. So that is nearly as good as a permanent link into GB3CV and all these other protocols. So for 24/7, this bridge is working and it can be used by basically anybody. Sometimes we do have an issue, but I think the guys learned now that you used to leave GB3CV hooked up to HubNet, which meant that we had HubNet going across the whole link. But it doesn't do that. I haven't noticed that as often anymore. So, and as I said, we can actually see. Right, I'm going to, hopefully, can I change this one? I'm going to have to stop again. New share. And as I said, we can hopefully see the bridge in action again on that web page. So here's the web page, and it's showing us all the individual links coming in and out. So if I pick up my DMR radio, turn it on. This radio's on free DMR. I actually haven't got anything connected to Brandmeister at the moment, but if this is on talk group 2345974. I key up. Oh, I'm not getting feedback. Let me read the speaker. There we go. You'll see that the call's being received on free DMR UK, G1IUL test. Give out my call sign. It's also, so, and then because these are green, it's being retransmitted on these other links. G1IUL clear. Now, there is a bug in the XLX software that keeps this monitor running. So it's slightly inaccurate, this monitor, but it only affects this XLX. So now if I go to Echolink, because I'm connected to that G1IUL link, and I transmit, G1IUL now coming in through Echolink. I get a bit of echo around because I've got my radio on, but you will see there that this bit has gone red, and that's because that's where the source is coming from, and it's coming from All Star, which is Echolink, G1IUL clear. So you can see there the bridge in action. I haven't got my Fusion radio on at the moment, but if I came in through that Fusion room GB space covers, it would be red there, and all the other ones would go green, and that would say TX across the bridge instead of RX. So that gives us the bridge. I mean, this web page is publicly accessible. I shall put a link to it So I'll put that in the chat. That's the link to the bridge monitoring software. And you can, as I said, it actually shows you the link, the bridge working, which is the source and which is the destination. So that's basically what the club has got in place, which is what gives us this all mode net that we try and run a net on a Wednesday night. And as you can see, there's quite a few ways of joining in. I mean, we can bridge in MW if needed to give us another RF link. I don't tend to do it by default. If anybody needs it, it can be done very easily. So that gives us what I call our all mode network.
Any consideration to All Star as well?
Well, All Star's already there. It's
cool in the background. Okay.
It's just I don't know anybody that uses All Star. If you want the All Star node number, I'll message it to you.
I have played with asterisks quite a bit in the past. It might give me.
Well, that's what it's running. It's running.
Oh no, that's what it's running.
That's what the back end's running is asterisks. So yeah.
Presumably with the PP RPT module.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So
it might just give me the sort of incentive to go set up asterisk again.
But yeah, you can happily pair with asterisks if you want, and if you need me to do any config on my end, I'm happy to do that as long as it doesn't break what we've already got.
Sure.
Because again, it's the same principle as FreeDMR. It's about experimentation at the end of the day, and I'm quite happy to experiment, which is the whole point of this FreeDMR network. Now I'm just going to have a quick brief, as I keep mentioning FreeDMR, what has happened over the past probably 3 or 4 weeks. Started off with FreeDMR was being set up by at the time the current UK admin, not as a new network, but as a front end to Brandmeister UK that basically allowed reflectors still to work because Brandmeister are turning reflectors off. So this was basically a front end server with a bridge into Brandmeister that allowed reflectors to work, and reflectors to work in a very simple way. Instead of having a different number compared to a talk group, every talk group also had a reflector. So you could just go to time slot 2, talk group 9, the same as you would in the old days, but just dial the talk group number and it would connect you as if you were a reflector, but to the talk group. Quite an intelligent idea. And that was plodding along quite nicely. I was involved in the testing of that, and it was going very well. But apparently there had been some personality clashes, shall we say, between Brandmeister Global and the Brandmeister UK team for a while. Now, I don't know whether this front end was the final glitch, but basically one day I was on the Telegram group and Brandmeister Global posted, "Oh, we're in the doo-doo. Anybody fancy running a new UK master?" So basically, they pulled the plug. Lots of people didn't actually notice the plug was pulled because a lot of UK people were connected to the UK master, which was still routing talk groups to anybody else that was connected to the UK master. So people that were talking on the UK talk groups didn't notice anything had changed. Now, this goes against one of the big announcements that Brandmeister made, that unforeseen circumstances, the server had failed and they had to move it urgently. But as I said, the server was still passing calls to everybody else that was still connected to it. All you lost was the link actually into the rest of the Brandmeister network.
Yes. I have heard various similar stories in different areas of or spheres of influence many times.
The guys that, the guy that had written this front end software, which was basically, because it's open source, he just was modifying the HB link stuff so it would work with dynamic talk groups. Instead of having to set up individual bridges, it would dynamically create bridges as and when required. And he did all that, the MySQL database in the back end, all clever stuff. So what he then did was, right, okay, we will carry on running. We run it as a new network. Now, there were some bridges between DMR Plus and Brandmeister that went through the UK master. Now, all above board, those talk groups have now been bridged into free DMR. Now, Brandmeister are still in their rights to be able to bridge into that group as well. So there may actually be at some point all three networks talking to each other. The only reason I can't get our network talking to DMR Plus is they don't support user talk groups, whereas Brandmeister does. So we can't actually have a talk group set up, which is why otherwise we could happily bridge that and etc. Now, the whole philosophy of DMR UK is it's all built on open source software.
Here.
So using well-known within the DMR world, well-known protocols, MMDVM, etc., OPB, the Open Bridge Protocol. But it's totally open source. You can download the server software, modify it to your heart's content, which also allows you to support different types of connectivity. I mean, they have now put D-star links in themselves. They're all about experimentation, and to me, they're now emphasising what ham radio side of DMR should be, where it's all about experimentation and being able to, I want to try and connect this way or try and connect that way and stuff, which the two bigger networks would never ever support. DMR Plus have only very recently supported hotspots connecting to it. That only happened over sort of 2 or 3 years. So the other two networks are very restrictive, and they're being run very corporately for what is a hobby. And it's supposed to be a hobby about development and experimentation. This is why you'll find me pushing free DMR at the moment. All right, I haven't got the connectivity to everywhere I had on Brandmeister, but I'm supporting something I think will become eventually the top network, because it's more ham radio orientated in the fact that it's all about open source and experimentation.
Open source always wins in the end.
Yeah, which is what the whole ethos of ham radio is about.
Yes, yeah, the two dovetail very well together, as you and I both know far too well.
Yeah. So, I mean, all the stuff I'm doing with that digital link, everything is open source software. Yeah. There is nothing that nobody else can go and download. There's nothing I've paid for. The only bit I'm going to have to pay for is the hardware and one decoders
for
to convert the audio to
ICOM loader. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only bit I can't do in open source.
I mean, all my stuff is GNU Radio, and that's totally open source.
Yeah. So, you know, this is what happened with what the big Brandmeister disaster. But the thing is, when we then brought up the FreeDMR hotspot server on the same IP address as the old Brandmeister UK master server, we got over 300 hotspots connected straight to it.
Oops.
But people hadn't updated to connect to the new Brandmeister.
No, dear.
Network.
What a pig.
It just logged into FreeDMR UK. So it's actually quite a heavily used network already, just by default, because of Brandmeister clustering it up.
Well, if they want to get political, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was political to me.
So yeah, I mean, it's actually already quite a big network. There's a few repeaters already on it. I mean, it's still in its infancy, and I will admit there's things like, obviously, SMS doesn't work on it and things like that yet. But their idea was just to get a network up that people could talk to each other on.
Yeah.
And then all the extra features will come. Yeah. And they obviously encourage people they want to work on the SMS bit, go away and do it. Yeah. And just tell us how to connect to it. And which is what it should be all about.
Brian, I noticed that obviously there's a delay there. We could hear it very clearly, and it's a long enough delay that, you know, it's measurable. If I was to put something together, and it would obviously have to be coordinated, would it be acceptable for me to run a round trip time test to measure that delay?
Yes, of course. I mean, obviously, the software conversions, because it's all being done in software, is what's adding the delay.
Yeah. I understand that very well, but it would be very interesting to actually measure that.
Yeah, I'm quite happy. I mean, if you want, I don't know how you want to connect into my bridge, but I'm happy for you to connect.
We can find a way to do that. What it would be is I'll send a ping, maybe a 1 kilohertz tone for 100 milliseconds, and you measure obviously the difference in reception time to transmission time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy.
Needs a little bit of thought. I've done it over spacecraft. I've measured MSF and Radio 4, which was an interesting one.
Yeah, I'll be quite happy. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what the different delays are between the different modes and stuff. Just for my own knowledge, I'd be quite happy. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll work something out with you.
So, has anybody else got any questions about sort of?
I have, Brian. I've got a sort of basic one.
Yeah.
I've got one of these small rigs here, and I've got a laptop. This is a 2 meter 70 SEM analog. What do I need to do to connect to Echolink? Can I use that equipment?
That you'd have to go through a repeater.
Right.
So you would go through GB3CV, but like most handhelds, it would do DTMF tones.
Yeah, does all that. So what I can connect then, now can I connect to something that's on that software, or have I got to wait for someone to connect to the
No, if you know the node number, you can dial it basically like a phone call. So you would just dial the number followed by a hash. Now, when I open my PC again, I will put in the link where you can search where every node number is listed on Echolink. That's the
looking to see whether I've got a hash key on this rig.
You do. There is definitely a hash on a DTMF.
Should be a hash and a star.
Yeah.
Can't see one. just got the keypad here. I mean, you can't read it from here, but
one of those keys will effectively give you a hash, Bob.
will it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be the ones that are either side of the 0.
Yes.
Oh, I see. I'm with you. So I access.
This little thing hasn't got it written on, but it's got 16 keys. So
yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It's 12.
12 keys.
12.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. It's got 16. Mine has.
It needs 12 for the DTMF stuff.
Yeah.
So I've got 1 to 9 and 0.
They're multi-function keys, aren't they?
Are they? Are the
yeah.
Right.
If you're transmitting the one as you look at it, the one on the right will transmit a hash. The one on the left of the 0 will transmit a star.
One on the right of the 0 will be a hash.
Yeah.
Okay.
One says FM and the other one says VM/scan.
Oh,
in transmit mode, it's a bit different, I'll bet.
Yeah.
If you look on the Facebook group as well, Simon G4UPS actually posted a PDF document with all the Echolink commands that you can do from a radio that's got DTMF through CV.
Oh,
So,
right there.
And that's on the Facebook group.
Just hang on a second. I'll get the instruction book out.
So I'm not going to go in, as that document already exists. I'm not going to.
No, it's all right.
The other important one is if you've connected to something, it's only polite to disconnect, and all you do is you press hash.
So right.
So that will disconnect the last thing that you've connected to.
So I type this number in then that was on your software.
Yeah.
And then I've got to use that software then to try and link to another repeater. Is that it?
No, I mean, if you know the repeater's number,
Yeah.
no number,
Yeah.
you could go into GB without any software. You could go to GB3CV as long as you've got an RF link to it.
Yeah.
Type in the number, the Echolink node number of the repeater you want to connect to.
I know.
Followed by a hash.
Yeah.
And that connect the two repeaters together.
Jolly good. Right. I've got you loud and clear, as they say.
And you don't need any software for that at all. You can do that just with a radio.
Okay.
I mean, I prefer using the software just because it's easy, because you don't have to keep looking up the node numbers because they're all listed as call
Yes,
signs.
I understand that. But from the equipment I've got.
Yeah. But if you've got a PC, you could use install Echolink on that as well anyway.
Right. So I need to install that, do I?
Well, then it's something worth installing. Yeah. I mean, so that's how Chaz G3.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. He joins the Wednesday night net sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's up in Derbyshire. Yeah.
So he uses Echolink and joins onto the all mode net. So we have people, it has its uses.
Well, can you send me the link for that software then?
Yeah, I'll do that. What I'll do is I'll send that all out to the Facebook
group. Yeah. Okay. That's
I'm thinking you don't actually need that. It's just useful to have it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough.
If the wind's taken all your aerials down, but you've still got an internet connection, you can still get on the air, basically.
If the wind takes down all my aerials, it's probably taken down the copper pair that does the internet as well.
But, it's another form of getting out if you need to. It's
If
usually
this aerial, we've got a serious problem with the wind, I think.
Yeah, but I'll be surprised if that gets you into GB3CV from there, Frank. I certainly can't.
Well, anybody else got any other questions about it?
CV.
Okay, cool. You're luckier than I am.
You're down the bottom of the hill. You're in a dip.
Yeah, doesn't help.
I'm not only up near the common, but I'm also in my loft.
Does help. Yeah. One more question from me, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that when you drew the I'm guessing that the repeaters just connect in as nodes to OpenLink as well.
Yeah, they just connect as
It's
Echolink nodes.
Sorry, Echolink. What am I saying?
Yeah.
So basically, the other side of that Echolink software, the repeater is connected via a bit of hardware and a bit of software.
Yeah, that's part of what SVX Link does, which is the modern sort of repeater controller people use that runs on a Pi, comes with Echolink as well.
Right. Cool. Okay. Right. I'm thinking about how we measure the round trip times and what we need to do.
Yeah. But yeah, we can find IP addresses of the relevant nodes and things if we need to.
No, I was more thinking, do it all through the audio channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that includes the code.
What I would be interested to see, actually, when we're doing this, is a test that, my theory of whether you're better connecting, if you're going to talk to Fusion DMR, whether you're better connecting directly to my Echolink link or connecting via CV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you've got the extra Echolink overhead. And it'd be interesting to give people advice. That's where I would like to help. Have that information.
I'll certainly design both experiments.
Yeah.
As I say, I've done this thing through spacecraft. I've done it, comparing Radio 4 and MSF, Radio 4 long wave FM, and the World Service. I don't think you were around when I gave that talk. Maybe that's another one I should do again, because that was an interesting one. What I discovered, I haven't run it lately. A bit difficult to run it at the moment, but we can certainly design an experiment to explore what those delays are.
Yeah, definitely.
What it will mean, though, is it does need, well, I suppose if you're transmitting, you've got exclusivity anyway, but it will, to the casual listener, it'll sound a bit odd when I send a 1 kilohertz tone for a second.
Yeah, as long as we announce that we're doing a test transmission, I think that'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, cool. Because, basically, the one I did with all the Radio 4 stuff was basically measure the Greenwich time signal.
Yeah.
And the differences between FM and long wave and the World Service.
Yeah. So before I stop the recording, because I don't know, I'm going to review it back, see if it's worth sticking on YouTube. But are there any more questions about what we spoke about, or want me to speak about, or?
Yeah, I've got a query. If I connect to, say, GB3CV with my FM radio for a CQ call out, will it go out on HB link and Echolink?
Yes.
But presumably only people that are connected via Echolink or HB link or whatever will
hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a few times when you put a call out on CV and I've answered you, I've actually been on the Cars Talk group.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Because you say, for me, it's really handy, especially when Bridge MW, to be able to walk around the house with that and be able to hear both the repeaters at the same time without having to have a bit of coax attached to me. It's quite useful.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if I
go by GB3CV, does it also go out on WK?
Only if someone's bridged it in.
Sorry, say that again.
That's only if someone's bridged it in. That's not a default action.
Oh, right, okay.
I usually find MWs bridged in, I think.
Yeah, you normally find MWs bridged into CV, which is quite useful because MW seems to cover the dead spots in commentary that CV has. So it actually gives you full coverage into CV around the city.
I might have to give that a